So some different, okay, so the question that we were asking, just because we didn't have the mic. Okay, if we're putting ourselves in the seller's position, and you're the seller, what would you be looking for in an agent if you were to hire somebody? Some of the questions or some of the answers that we got so far are, well, I would want to be able to trust the agent. I would be looking for credibility, professionalism, services that they offer. Can you think of anything else? Oh boy, they're loud. Can you think of any other services or any other things? I think these are really important. So how do we show this bit? How do we create trust? How do we build credibility? How do we, you know, present ourselves in professional?
You know how you group the first three together, and then you said
Mhm.
services is a separate thing, because
Yeah.
services is more of a
Like a tangible
like a
thing. Yeah.
tangible. But the top three, that has to do with character, so I think your behavior is going to, demonstrate that you're trustworthy, you have credibility, and you're professional.
And how do we do that? How do we demonstrate all those things? How do we present ourselves in those ways?
I think verbal and body language, really.
Okay, love that. So how we speak, how we conduct ourselves, our body language. I think these are all really great things. Yes, because the sellers, like, they're calling you for a reason usually, right? There's something about you that attracts you to them. And so what is it? So I do like to tell or remind people that, you know, people call you for a reason. So I think another thing is being like authentic, people love authenticity. But at the same time, professionalism, all those things. Like, I mean, maybe our authentic self is, I just want to be in my sweats or whatever, but that's not really how we're going to present ourselves, right? But we can still be like our authentic self. These are great. Let's move on. Oh, let's see. Oh, geez. My podium's not in here that I usually like to have. So okay, so Gary Keller says, while leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level with the lowest cost and highest net. If we think of the Red Bible, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, one of the core lessons that we learn in the book is that the more listings we have, the more money we're going to make, right? So our goal when we're generating business is to get to the point where usually when we're getting started in real estate, we're going to have more buyer leads at first. But as we build this trust, this credibility, presenting ourselves as professionalism, we're showing up on social medias, we're doing our marketing, all the things, right? Then we start picking up listings. And that is where you want to put the core, eventually where you want to put more of your energy, is trying to get as many listings as you can, because you can leverage your time with listings. The more listings we have, the more opportunity there is. Wait, what's going on? So when we get to that point when we're gonna list a house, what we're looking for is qualified sellers, and not just qualified, but like qualified sellers. So in our contacts, in our database, I usually rank my sphere, my database, my leads in an A, B, C, D, right? And the A are people who are ready and willing to do business in the next 14 days. So they're low-hanging fruit. They're ready to get going. Does that mean I forget about B, C, D, E? No. Okay. Real estate is the long game. It's not a get rich quick thing. It's a long game. And so for me, when I am doing any kind of marketing, anything that I put out there, I want to present that, hey, it doesn't matter if you're looking to buy or sell right now. I'm going to be here this month, next year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, I'm your person. I'm your, instead of coming from like an old school salesy way, I'm coming at it from like a relationship way, right? I want to be your point of contact, your experts for the rest of your life. Like, let's create this relationship forever, not just like a one and done. It's not transactional, at least in my mind. It's not a transactional relationship. It's like an ongoing relationship with people. Ah, oh my gosh. Let's try not using this mouse and try this. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the 3 L's in the MREA are leads, listing, and leverage. So we talked about in the MRA, the more listings you have, the more leverage you have, and it's an automatic lead source. So if you have a sign in the yard and you're putting out marketing for listings, oftentimes I use my own listings on Facebook ads, Google ads, Facebook Marketplace, all these different places so that I can generate more buyer leads, right? I use one listing and it's a catalyst to get way more business. So that's why listings are so important, because we're able to leverage our time. We don't have to be out showing how with our listings. We don't have to like be with the seller all day, every day, right? Whereas with a buyer, we have to spend a lot of time with them out showing houses and stuff. So with the listings, it's usually creating that, building that credibility, building that trust, showing up with professionalism, having all the services that show your value, right? I'm going to do all these things for you. So we're able to leverage that and get more leads. The virtues of a seller listing. Seller listings mean marketing opportunities. You have more control of your time. They maximize your per hour compensation. The more volume you have, the more money you're going to make. With seller listings, you're the front end of pricing. I love that too. So properly marketed seller listings bring you more business. Yeah, we get to decide, or we don't get to decide, the seller gets to decide the pricing, but we can create, like, we know how much we're going to make from a deal from the beginning, right? We get to establish that. Excuse me. So we have a 7-step seller service cycle. So the first thing is we've got to, well, I think even before we get to number 1, right? We've got to generate our leads, and you guys have been learning how to do that, right? With the previous classes in Ignite. Have you been learning that? Okay, so we've been learning how to generate leads, how to talk to the leads. Now we've got to convert those leads. We need to put together a pre-listing package where you can start building that trust, that credibility, and showing your professionalism up front. Then we get to the listing consultation. That's when we show up and we, for me, I like to walk through the house with them, get to know them a little bit more, find out, do some questions, find out questions on, you know, what's their timeline, what are their expectations, I'm also looking through the house to see how can we improve the condition on the home so that we can sell it for the most amount of money. So if you haven't heard this yet, I'm sure you will over and over and over again, but a home sells for 3 reasons. When we break it down to its most basic level, a home sells for 3 reasons: price, condition, and location, right? Location is what's the word? We can't do anything about the location of the house, right? It's not something that can be changed. And so we put a lot of our focus on these 2 things. And we could also even add one more category, even though I think it really comes down to price and condition, but the 4th area might be how we're marketing the home. Okay. But we're going to focus on these two things. So in our listing consultation, yes?
Which number, 7?
It's post-close systems. So when I show up to a home and I'm walking through with them, I'm taking note of the condition of the home right from the get-go. What can we do to help improve? Okay. Because if we can get condition to its tip-top shape, then we can probably sell it, right, for the most money. And that's usually the goal of the seller is, I want to sell my house for the most amount of money, so that I can net the most amount of money as I can move on to my next goal. So our job is to be honest with our clients as we walk through, looking at certain things. Hey, do we need to do one of 3 things? Declutter, depersonalize, and deep clean. And I'm not saying this all right at the beginning. I'm just kind of making mental notes, writing notes on my notebook, as we're walking through. Yes.
I was gonna say, you're talking about location and yeah, that's something you can't really do anything about. But
it can affect price.
It can affect price, especially like if it's a really nice neighborhood and you've got the Clutter family or whatever.
Right.
And you're like, hey, by doing these things, you're gonna bring your home up to the standard of the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that will definitely maybe make it move.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like uncontrollable, right? We can't control this, but what we can't control, but we can control these, right? So I like to put more of my energy into the things that are in my control, because it lessens the stress and anxiety, right? I can't control where the location is, but I can say, hey, you've got all these power lines behind your house. Probably it's going to be harder to sell. Probably you're not going to get the same amount of money for the house that's 2 streets over and has no power lines. It's just going to be more desirable, right, for the buyers. In a market where there's not a lot of choices, then that might not be as big of a deal because people just want a house, right? But in a market where we have a lot more inventory, it becomes a factor, right? So we do look at all of those things and we do talk about the location of their home. Like if it's in a cul-de-sac, people want to be in a cul-de-sac, right? What part of the Salt Lake Valley are they in? Even neighborhoods in Sandy, there's little pockets everywhere, right? Some little pockets of Sandy are more desirable than other little pockets of Sandy. So you really have to be familiar with the area to make sure that when you're pulling comps, that the homes in the pockets of Sandy, that's a tricky city, I feel like, to comp, because they literally could be the next street over, could be the undesirable street. But like, okay, so if we're in Highland or Alpine or Lehigh or whatever, like there's location is gonna play a factor in price, but it is not something that we control. We do need to mention it, we need to talk about it, but the things that we can control are price and condition. So what are we going to do to bring the house up to the best shape we can? And how are we going to price it strategically so that it will sell? So I do go over these things, not in the initial walkthrough, but after we walk through the home, we get to know each other and I'm looking around and just seeing, okay, what do we need to do to help this house? Then we go sit down, and that's when I go through my listing presentation, and then we come up with a list of things that some like a honey-do list for the sellers, hey, we need to do the XYZ in order to, we also have to look at, okay, if there's certain parts in the house that maybe deep cleaning, decluttering, depersonalizing isn't going to be enough. So what kind of improvements do we need to make? Do we need new carpet, new paint? Those are usually the 2 main things, flooring and paint.
Question. You were talking about the initial where you do the walkthrough and everything. Do you get the listing signed at that point and then come back and then,
So I walk through the home, then we go sit down at the kitchen table and go over all of my services, what I have to offer, continue asking more questions. And then at the end of that, I basically ask for the listing.
okay.
And then, so I will usually, at that point, once we've all decided, then we'll start making a list then. But then sometimes I do come back again and like we really go through the house again more closely. But I usually have like a few things right off the bat that I'm like, okay, I noticed that we need, and a lot of times seller have questions. They already know some things that are big things that they need to fix. Like one listing that I had, this is where like I'm a recovering people pleaser, okay? And yeah, and I knew better. I've been an agent for a really long time, but I was at this listing appointment and they asked me point blank, hey, what do you think of this turquoise wall? And it was a really high wall, like a vaulted ceilings, and I was like, oh. And halfway up, it had like a batten board and it was white halfway up and there was turquoise to the ceiling. I was like, it's probably fine. I knew it wasn't fine from the beginning. And that's where I was like learning. I have to be honest and upfront from the beginning because it's much harder to change when you have it listed, to have them go back and paint later than it is if you're upfront with people from the beginning and say, look, you got to paint this wall. You got to get new carpet. I did tell them like you have to get new carpet and they did, but they like didn't do the stairs and the loft area, which that's where the carpet was at its worst. And so I'm like, what happened here? I thought we talked about getting new carpet. So anyway, yeah. Being really honest about some of the major things that pop out. If your clients already know it could be an issue and they're asking about it, that's your opportunity to say, validate that and be like, yeah, you gotta change that. Okay, and another thing that I personally do is I add on staging. So this could be a partial or it could be a full. And partial means I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna help with adding plants and pillows and towels and just freshening up the house, sometimes bedding and stuff. Or a full could mean like it's a vacant house, it needs furniture. That doesn't mean every room in the house. It could mean like kitchen, living room, primary suite, and then like accessories in bathrooms. And maybe like an entry is usually what that entails. I'm to the point where I do most of my own staging now, but there are people, in our brokerage or other businesses where their business is all just staging. Well, I didn't start out doing the staging all from the beginning because it is, there's a cost investment there. But now I'm to that point where I do all of this because I'm trying to do this to get the most of this, so. Okay, so after we sit down and we go over our listing consultation, then from there, it's time for me to start marketing the property. So in my listing presentation, I talk about all of the different ways that I'm going to market the home and like what's my marketing plan. People want to know what your marketing plan is going to be. How are you going to put this out? Because you can't just put it on the MLS and like walk away. Yes, there are people who do that, but like what else are you going to do? So thinking about how are you going to market the homes to the most, to get the most amount of eyeballs looking at the house. There's a lot of things that play into getting the most amount of eyeballs. Pricing it right, good pictures, condition, and your marketing is going to help you get as many eyeballs on the house. The more eyeballs you get on the house, the more people to walk through, the more possibility that you're going to get an offer, right? If people are not walking through the house, you have a problem. So then we have to go back and say, okay, what's the problem? Is it price? Is it condition? Is it location? That is maybe we need to adjust the price because of the location, or So those are some things. Then hopefully at this point we've had buyers walking through, we get an offer, and that's when negotiations start. There's a whole bunch of points of negotiation in a contract. And then once we're under contract, we go contract to close. And now we're like managing that contract, making sure we're hitting our deadlines and negotiating through the process, working with title company, working with the lender, working with any other contractors or providers that are helping you get to the close. And then, yes.
To a degree, price is like one point of marketing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And condition, honestly, because if you walk through a house and a house looks like crap, that's think of it this way. I did a podcast episode with Susie Clyde, and she talked about, okay, if you're gonna go on two ways to look at it, a job interview, or like this date with your dream person. What are you gonna do to prepare for that interview for the job of a lifetime? What are you gonna do? First of all, you're gonna show up in your professional attire, you're gonna practice all the things, right? For your date, you're gonna show up in your best way, right? So how can this is like going on a date with future buyers, or going for a job interview for future buyers, right? Like, we're putting ourselves out there and we're courting the buyers. If it means we have to peacock a little bit by, doing whatever we have to do here with the photos, the price, and the staging, all the improvements and things, we're going to do it so that we can market the house in the best way and get the most amount of people through. Okay, so after we get to the close, then your post-close systems, this is how we're going to continue that relationship to get repeat business. So what kind of smart plan, auto plan, follow-up system are you going to have to where you're going to keep contacting those sellers for a year, 2 years, whatever? Like for me, in that first year after a close, I like to send something out at 30 days, 60 days, or 6 months, and then a 12-month thing. And then from there on out, it's every year. I'm contacting them on their house anniversary. Okay. Any ahas there before we move on? Okay, so keys to converting your leads so that we can, like, step one was converting the leads, right? So how can we convert the leads? We're going to respond right away. We're going to get all the information that we can. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to save it to your CRM. So we automatically have command. You're going to go in there, create a contact, and create an opportunity. Have you guys been in command yet? Have you played around with it? Yeah. Okay, so you'll want to first do that. And that is something that I have not been super great at creating the opportunities or adding the contact until I actually have the contract. But then I tend to lose people because I'm not keeping track of them, right? If I'm not. So something I've been working on within my systems is like being better about the first thing, going and putting them into the CRM so that we don't lose them ever. They're getting put into our newsletters. They're getting put into our lists for invitations for different things that were events and things that we're going to be putting on that year. Determine their motivation to sell so that you can speak to it. There's a really great book. Oh shoot. I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll think of it, or I'll text my husband and ask him the name of it because it's good. But it talks about, it's all about like peeling back the layers of an onion to get to the heart of the issue. you know? So that's determining their motivation to sell so that you can speak to that motivation and always reminding them, like, this is the reason why you're wanting to sell, right? So that they're continuing to stay motivated and in it. Set an appointment time and date for as soon as possible and send a pre-listing packet. What the sellers most want out of an agent. So they want you to price the home competitively. They want you to help the seller market the home to potential buyers, help sell the home within a specific time frame, and help seller find ways to fix the home up to sell it more. So in this survey, that dark orange there, 16% of people want you to tell them what to do to get the condition up, right? So, and then 27% have other reasons why, or what other things that they want out of an agent. Yes.
The packet you're talking about, do you put that together yourself?
I do. So I'll kind of show you what I do here in a little bit. Okay, we're going to build confidence and trust. So how do we do that? We're going to show the benefits for maybe, these are just some different things that you can do in closing the deal. If you don't have exactly what to say, that's the book, exactly what to say, then get that. I think we actually have a PDF or copy, like maybe that's available to the new agent. So ask Cameron Wilson about this specific book, exactly what to say. And it will give you some different closing frameworks, conversation frameworks. You can show the benefits. You could do a take back close, a negative positive close, give them what they're looking for, trial close, assumptive close, tie downs. And so if you don't know what these are sales tactics, sales techniques. So research these close sales techniques. That's a good question. Off the top of my head, it's like you're going to offer something and then like take it back, oh, well, or I don't really need it, or kind of putting it in that framework. But like I said, there is a book called Exactly What to Say. Get that. And there's one for real estate agents too. So yeah. And those will give you some really great conversation frameworks that work for all of these. And really, when I'm looking through that book, I kind of go off my I read through them and I kind of go off my gut feeling on which one I think is going to be the best way to respond. Obviously, when I'm sitting in front of people, I don't have that luxury to look through a list of conversation frameworks. But if I'm like writing an email or a text or a DM on a Facebook or whatever, I do consult the book so I can remember, oh yeah, this is a good way to frame that. And it works every time. Okay, questions versus objections. So when a question is asked, answer it. A lot of times when questions are asked, especially the commission question, we think automatically in our mind it's an objection because we're like sometimes afraid of the commission question, but really they're just asking a question. So if we can take out the emotion of that question and stop thinking of it as an objection, then just answer it as a question. And then when an objection comes up, then know how to handle that. I think there might even be in your new agent playbook, maybe some lists of objections that with ways to handle those. Okay. So in our pre-listing packet goals, we are trying to pre-sell the seller before we even get there. So we're building the seller's confidence, answering their questions and objections before you actually present. So for me, I've created my own buyer guides, seller guides. I've created my own like a staging guide. I'm trying to build my credibility and as an agent before I even show up. I'm going to give them all this. I'm going to dump this information on them. They may not even open it. They may not even read it. watch the videos, anything, but the fact that I've sent it, that I'm prepared enough, that I've created professional materials, right? That automatically in their mind, their view of you is, oh, this is a professional I'm working with, you know? It helps to save time before the experience. One thing that I was taught to do was to send the seller condition property disclosures over in this email, this pre-listing email. And if the sellers have already printed them off and signed them, filled them out, you're golden because they've already done work, right? They've done their homework. They're committed to you because they've already done that. So you might not have to sell so hard. State the value, tell the seller what you bring. So in my listing guide, I'm, I'm just all of the things that I offer, what my values are, all the things are in that. So if they open it and even just skim through it or watch the 20-minute video that I send them, they should already have a pretty good idea of what I offer and what I come with. And then I can spend the time at the appointment just chatting and getting to know them and helping to solve their problem because they do have a problem. How am I going to be the solution to their problem? They need to move. For what reason? I got to find out. Once we know the reason why they're going to move, then it's my job to solve that problem, whatever timeline it is. What do we got to do to get it to sell? So pre-listing packet criteria, will you review it in the listing presentation? Yes, I do. So I actually send like a bulk of things, but then in my listing presentation, I have a condensed version of everything where I actually do like a little slideshow. I am a former teacher, so so that's why I guess maybe go a little overboard in things. So you don't have to do anything exactly like me, but just, what feels right to you and how are you just need to have a system of how you're going to do this and how it like feels good for you. Does it eliminate the need for a listing consultation? So we don't want it to completely eliminate the need for a listing consultation, right? We want to give enough information that we're educating the buyer or the sellers. We're showing our value so that when we show up, then we can do the rest. So like I usually don't send comps in the pre-listing packet. I usually show up with those and like review the actual comps together with them. So they, and then we come up with like, a pricing strategy from that. I'm fully prepared coming in and already know what the range is, but I usually don't send those over before. But some people do. So it just depends on like what you want to do. Sometimes it's helpful. I always, most sellers are looking at Zillow. So you do want to like check what is Zillow selling their house for so that they're probably already looking at Zillow and wondering, oh, this is what, because Zillow, they think is the expert on price. They're not always the expert on price, so I do want to have like a benchmark of that. And I even ask them questions. What do you think your house will sell for? What are some of the houses in your neighborhood that you're aware of that sold for? Sometimes this is the problem too. They see what other people listed for. And so they think they're going to get the same amount, or they think that it's sold for that amount when actually maybe they listed for really high, but they ended up selling for $50,000 less than that. So that's when we come in with the actual data and we like crush some dreams. or we come in, instead of crushing them, maybe we're like exceed their expectations of what they can do. That's really what we want, but not all of the time is that the case. So I think there might be someone here in the office who can help you with a pre-listing packet. We also have templates in Command. There's that you can start creating your own. I use Canva And so I just create a bunch of things there. There's so many different sources online where you can buy some pre-made templates that maybe fit your style a little bit better, you know. I think there's a website called like Elevated Agent, and they have a lot of like templates for things, and they're not super expensive. There are some that are like, I've seen that are like $150 to $200 for the template, which I think is a little excessive. These are like 15 bucks, 20 bucks, or something like that, you know. Okay, seller consultation preparation checklist. So you're going to deliver your listing packet. You're going to confirm the appointment. You're going to ensure that all the decisions makers are there. You're going to practice your listing presentation. You're going to review their information, their lead sheet, the info that you gathered prior to going, to make sure that you're answering, you know, that you're coming prepared to answer some of the questions that you've already discovered. I like to think of that initial phone call more as a discovery call, because I'm there to discover what, when I'm calling him from the beginning on that, you know, what was number one? Step one was converting the lead. That to me, I look at it as a discovery call, because I'm there to discover everything about them. I even, when I do Zoom calls a lot when I'm doing these discovery calls, and I'll even call it a discovery call, because then instead of like in a consultation or something like that, you know, so it's like a discovery. So then they're like, oh, discovery, like already in their mind, oh, she's going to ask me some questions. We're going to figure out like what's going on in my situation. Arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner. Does that mean you need to show up in a suit and tie? Well, if that's your shtick, show up in a suit and tie, but you don't have to, but you do need to look professional. I think a nice, for guys, you know, the golf pants and a golf shirt is fine. I even have some friends, one agent I know specifically, he always looks nice, but he wears shorts every day of his life. Now they're like the nice ones, you know, like golf shorts and a golf shirt. But I'm like, wow, you show up like that in a listing. He gets his listings, but that's him. You know, people are attracted to certain people. So they already, people hire you because they like you, know you, and trust you. So cater to those things, you know. And remember that there's enough business out there for all of us to prosper and to succeed, because we only need, remember in this business, we don't need a ton of sales a year to have a really good income, right? And there are people who are going to be attracted to you. There are people who are going to be attracted to every single person in this brokerage. So don't get caught up in, oh, this person has this or this person has this. Well, who are the people that are meant for me? I'm going to find those people, right? Are you good yet? Good. While you're finishing that, I gotta.
Done.
Cool. Okay. So at the listing presentation, the goal is absolutely to get a signed listing agreement, right? We do want to walk away with a signed listing agreement. Sometimes I don't have like physical paper. I might have everything loaded into DocuSign or whatever, you know, like I kind of have things pre-done so that we can just take care of it digitally. We can do it in person. I'm also okay with, and this is me and what I feel good with. If it's not, doesn't feel good with you, then don't do it. If you're like, no, I have to have them sign right in front of me, then do it, you know. But for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to send over the paperwork. If you have any additional questions, let's talk about it. And then they sign it, you know. So I don't always do the paperwork right then. I mean, I do, but I send it DocuSign and they might take, an hour or something to review it or whatever. Like they don't have to sit and sign it and review it in front of me. But it is important to talk about the document. So like if you have it already loaded in your DocuSign, just to pull it up on your computer and, skim through them, or scroll through them and talk about each document, what it's there for, what's the purpose of it, because it is our job to make sure that we're communicating the expectations of all the documents so they have a good idea of what they're signing. Granted, they are adults, and so they have the responsibility of reading them too. Share your price recommendation, the initial list price for their property and your reasoning behind it. So that's where we come prepared with our comps. Set expectations for how you will market the home and work with the sellers. So we're going to create a great impression, build their confidence, build their trust, be professional. And as we go through pricing and help them come up with a strategic pricing or a smart pricing strategy that will help build that confidence in you, that trust in you. And then how are we going to market it? That is another level of trust and credibility. And then your responsibility is to follow through with whatever you tell them you're going to do, right? Okay, so I'm going to go through my listing presentation with you. I'll show you what I do when I show up. I'm knowledgeable. Oh, this is good. I am knowledgeable. This is like our own little mantra. I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. Okay, it's important. I used to think all that was woo-woo, but this is important for you to come in with that confidence and for you to believe that you are the best agent for them and you're going to do the best job. Because if you believe it, they will believe it, right? Yeah, yeah. This is your affirmation. Your daily affirmation, right? I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home.
This is yours.
No, this is a KW thing. All the Ignite classes are like pre-designed. We just show up and teach them and then add in our own stuff. Okay, so in in command, you're going to go in, create your, you have to make sure you create your contact first, then create your opportunities. Let's do a listing walkthrough. After the listing walkthrough, sending a handwritten thank you note is important. Sometimes I send them crumble cookies or something else, just as a thank you. All right, so. All right, let's go through. I don't know what happened to the lid. Okay. Oh, there it is. Courtney. Nielsen, Nielsen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to sign up. No. Ah.
think it-
Oh, maybe. Well, it's on, I think, the Ignite stuff. Okay, so so after we've like walked through the house, I've written down some notes. Well, the very first thing I do when I come in the house, we talk, how are you? Da, da, and I ask them, hey, can I set my stuff down at your table? Because like I want to be in a table situation, just because it's easier for me to do presentations. Plus we have like some hard service we can, you know, um, we can write on and different things. So I also bring my laptop, and then I have like a second screen that I attach to my laptop. Some people use like an iPad, just whatever, works for you. But so I like to kind of set up. So I just like plop myself down or plop my stuff down at the table, and I say, okay, do you want to, let's take a tour of the house. I want to see the house, and they're usually excited and want to show you the house. So I've only had a couple of times where the sellers are like, actually, no, let's talk first. And then if we decide, we'll show you the house. And that was like random and awkward. But but most of the time it's just like me, I'm just being my own, bubbly personality, whatever. I'm just trying to get to know them and establish a rapport with them as I'm walking through the house, asking questions. How are you? What are you guys, where are you guys wanting to move? I'm like asking all these questions that maybe we've talked about, or maybe we haven't, but it's just another opportunity for me to naturally let a conversation flow, not like I'm.
Yeah, not like move in on the sour note there.
Yeah. I'm just.
A lot of those sour notes.
Right. I'm just being conversational, like trying to just be a friend. Show me your house. And then I always am like complimentary. Oh, I love this room. Oh, this is going to be great, for a new buyer. Like I'm looking at it from a perspective of a new buyer. What are they going to love about this house? So that because they want to know that their house is nice and they're going to sell it and it's going to be able to sell. All right. So after we walk through the house, we come back to the table, we sit down. And at this point, sometimes they'll offer a drink of water. Take it if they offer it, because it's just a way for them to serve you in that moment. It's like just like that gesture, that exchange kind of thing. And it's just nice. Plus, sometimes you get a little cotton mouthy. And so if they don't offer it, sometimes I ask, hey, by any chance, do you have any water? And then they'll get me a glass of water, and then we get going. That's a trick that Lee Stern teaches. Okay, so if we haven't already talked about this, the first question that I have for people is, what do you know about us, our business, and the way that we do things differently? So there's a reason why they called me. So what do you already know about me before we get into this? And I've already asked their whys. I've already done all of that, right? So this is now time for like, well, what do you know about me? Okay, we talk about those things. Okay, boom. And then we talk about the 3 reasons that a home sells. I don't know why every time I do this presentation, you can't see the 3 and the other, but I promise you on a regular screen, there's color. I think it's just the lighting in here. So 3 reasons a home sells: price, condition, and location. We talk about those. And then I bring up this profile from the National Association of Realtors, how a buyer finds a home. 52% are just looking online. 3.1% know the sellers. 4.1% come from a yard sale. 6.1% come from a home builder. 6.1% friend, relative, or neighbor. And real estate agent, 28.6%. So I say the reason why I bring this up is because my goal in marketing your home is to attract people from every one of these categories. That's my goal, is to get you the most reach in finding a buyer. And this is how I'm going to do it. First off, before we even list the home, these are things that I offer. And again, I didn't always do this. This is just now where I'm at in my business, where I can do all of these things. Before I would tell them, hey, you need to deep clean your home. I'd give them a cleaning list because I couldn't afford to pay for a cleaner. Now, I originally got licensed in 2012, but I didn't actually get started in real estate, I would say, until 2014. And that was like kind of a side hustle because I used to be a teacher. So I was a teacher by day and a realtor by night, you know. In 2016, I left teaching and that's when I went full time. And so I've been doing real estate since 2016. So before I give them like nice, you know, part of my listing packet would be a cleaning list, right? Here you go. Here's all the things that I need you to do to clean your house, whether you're cleaning it or you're hiring somebody. Now I'm like, hey, as to help you through this process, I'm gonna, you know, hire professional cleaners to come in and help you clean your house so that you can focus on doing this and this and this. I'll send in the cleaners, right? They love that because it's, you know, less work for them, right? Because yeah, sellers want you to sell the house for the most amount of money, want it marketed, want all these things, but they want to do the least amount of work possible. That's why they're calling you instead of doing it for sell by owner, right? Because they one, don't want to do all themselves. They do believe in the power of hiring a real estate and how important it is to help them get the most amount of money out of a home. Contractor services. So I don't pay for all the contractor services generally, but I have a bunch of different contacts. So, for example, earlier this year, we were listing a house in Saratoga Springs. We looked up and I saw above the kitchen kind of like a little, like maybe they had a leak or something, but the drywall didn't look so hot, you know? So we were like, what happened there? And they're like, oh, that's actually been there since we moved in or since the first year. And we just never had the builder come back and fix it. I was like, oh, shoot. I'm like, well, it needs to be fixed before we sell the house because the first thing a buyer does when they walk through the house is they're looking for defects, right? Like, how can I reduce the price of this home? And we want to make it so that there's nothing that they think they have to reduce, you know, because it's worth every bit of what they're asking because it's in that good of condition, right? However, I had a listing recently in West Jordan that needed a lot of work. They had it listed with another agent. The doors didn't shut. Like they'd lived in this house for 3 or 4 years and none of the doors worked properly. They had never been able to close their door. Like, what? I'm like, hey guys, nobody's gonna buy a house you can't shut the door, you know? Not your kid's door, not your door. Nobody's doors are shut. I was like, well, wide open. All right. Yeah, no, thank you. Not even the bathroom door could shut. It was like, so I was like, hey guys, like we got to do this. And they're like, well, you know, we looked into getting new doors, but they're going to be $300 or $400 a door. And I was like, no, they're not. My husband is a general contractor and we do have builder accounts at different places. And so we're like, no. So what we ended up doing is we ended up putting the doors on our contractor account and we had those paid out of the proceeds of the sale at closing. And then we actually did help pay for the installation of the doors and trim. And then that was reimbursed to us at closing. We paid for the painters up front, and that was reimbursed to us at closing. And then they needed a new roof, and so I helped them work with a roofing company that is really good at doing insurance claims. And so they got like 60% of the roof paid for by the insurance company. And then the balance of that, we found the roofing company that would take the balance at closing, also from the proceeds of their sale. So, you know, we walked in and we helped them do all the things that needed to be done. You know, the back deck needed a fresh coat of paint, and I was just gonna paint it, but then I was there. I actually painted their front railing porch and their front door. It needed a fresh coat. And I said, oh, I have paint for the back deck. And they're like, oh, well, if you have the supplies, we'll just paint it tonight. So they painted that. But I brought a bunch of supplies. So because they didn't have a bunch of cash, they were tight, they were late on their mortgage payment. So, before I offered up any of these contractor services, of course, I was making sure how much do they owe on their house? How much can we sell? Is there money here that we can do? We set a budget and we're said, okay, they didn't want to pay more than $10,000 for all of the repairs that needed to be done on the house out of pocket. That would come from them out of their net proceeds, right? And so at the end of the day, I think it was $8,600 is what we ended up spending. And $5,100 of that we paid for out of pocket and then got reimbursed at closing. The rest got paid for at closing. So that was something we did. Stage to sell. So this is something, again, that I offer as a service, partial or full. Prior to that, though, I would walk through the house and I give them a whole booklet of everything they need to look for in staging their houses. And part of it is declutter, depersonalize, deep clean. But it gives a whole bunch of different, I think 25 or 26 tips on what to do. But I would walk through their home and we would rearrange furniture. I would just use what they had in their home to help them. Because sometimes people, the way that we live is different than how we would actually try to sell the house. A lot of times in bedrooms, people put the beds all the way up to the walls because they think that's actually going to create, well, maybe it does create more space for them, but actually it makes the room look smaller.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I do is look in all the bedrooms and look at what furniture we can take out of the rooms. The more furniture we can take out to where it looks like there's, So we move the bed to the middle of the room usually, or at least away from the wall so there's space. And then that's always first. If they have big dressers and things or multiple dressers, we take out everything but one, that they absolutely need to have. In the living rooms and stuff, a lot of times people just have too much stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's what can we get out? And I always tell people look, it's fine if you use your garage as your storage unit, as long as everything is organized and to one side, And so that's what people do. They just start taking things out of their house. They're packing up and they're just starting to declutter.
I mean, when I first got my license, my neighbors across the street, they already had their house listed with, some realtor that they know. And, the mom, because it's a mother and a son, the mom's in her 70s. The son, he's a good friend of mine, but he has really bad back issues. And so they're wanting to sell so they wouldn't have to worry about a yard and all that, if they're gonna get a townhome or a condo or something. And the mom, she asked me to come over and she said, John, just your opinion. What can we do to make the house more appealing? And I noticed that she had knickknacks everywhere.
Yeah, you got to take them down.
Yep, and that's what I told her, and I said, well, what do you about, the first thing is people want to imagine how they're gonna look in the house.
Yeah.
How their furniture's gonna work, how, their decor is gonna work.
Right.
I said, and I went room to room, and I said, Eva, I would box up all of the knickknacks and stuff like that.
That was good advice.
She got offended.
Yeah.
Not to me, not at that moment, but a day or two later, she sent me a text and she said, John, just so that you know, she said, I gave our realtor your advice and he said, oh, Eva, you don't have to do any of that stuff. House is still on the market. It's overpriced and it looks.
No, you do need to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I always preface that. I don't hey, this isn't because your stuff isn't lovely. Your stuff is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love all of your knickknacks and things. And it just really personalizes and makes your home a home. And it's represents you and your personality. And I love that about you. But here's the thing. When you walk into a home, you really need to think of your home like a model home. So when you walk into a model home, there's very little decorations. Everything is neutral. So that you can picture your own stuff there, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to have furniture in the room to give spatial awareness of how things are going to fit, but it needs to be very depersonalized. So as much pictures, knickknacks, all the things off the walls, you want it to look very white space, open airy space. Okay, so then we talk about professional photography. I also pay for the professional photography, and I include interiors, exteriors, aerials, and social media videos. So then I also have a checklist for the photography checklist, like what I want them to do to prepare for the photography. And then we have a conversation. Okay, also, I show up. Not every agent does this, but this is important to me. I'm hiring the photographer, and you can't expect the photographer to move furniture around if it isn't right. They're not. We're hiring the job to come take the picture. We're not asking them. Their job requirement is not to move stuff. Okay? Everything should be in order by the time they get there. So I always show up half an hour, sometimes an hour before the photo appointment, and I walk through the house and I'm looking for anything that looks out of place. I'm shoving things in crazy places because even though I give a list of, hey, everything needs to be off the counters, cords need to be hidden, remote controls, toilet seats down. I look at the beds to make sure that the bedding is nice and straight, because sometimes things look crooked. And guess what? When you're looking at photos, what does the eye immediately go to? The things that are not lined up, right? Somebody posted on the Utah Agents Facebook group about how a friend messaged her on Facebook and said, hey, I don't know if you took the pictures yourself, but I noticed the toilet lids were up in all the bathrooms. And maybe the next time you should make sure the toilet lids are down.
Yeah.
And she got so offended, this agent did. And I was like, she was looking for validation from the rest of the agents in the Facebook group, and not one gave validation. We're all like, no, it should be down. Like, it looks bad, And she's like, well, she wasn't there. Well, that's on you. Well, the photographer, well, that's on you. Every person you hire is a reflection of you. They're hiring you, you're hiring all the other people. So it's very important on who you're selecting as your preferred vendors, because they represent you. So professional photography is important. And then we talk about strategic pricing. We do a coming soon email. We put it on the Keller Williams listing services. So the reason why I mentioned that is because KWLS is like international, and we have referral partners all over the United States. So I want them to know, hey, we're going to utilize this too. We're going to put it on the MLS. Then we're going to do some targeted marketing. We're going to do digital and print ads, a listing landing page, and we're going to do a grand opening event, which is essentially an open house.
Generally, how much do you pay a professional photographer? Let's say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a decent sized lot.
Photography has gone up in price. So I'm usually, because I add video on too, it's more money. So I would say I'm like $300 to $500 for photography. And then cleaning is usually around $300. If I do the carpets and the windows, then you're going to add on for that. So it could be easily $1,000 for cleaning, and like you're talking like $1,500 if you're paying for all of it, at least for cleaning, photography, not including staging.
Okay.
And that's all out of my own pocket, and that's why I charge 3%. So they see the value in that, because like, I'm doing all this shiz for you. And right. Right. You like my shirt today? I chose that strategically for today. Okay, so then we talk about what our staging look like. And these are pictures of homes that I've sold. These are homes that were vacant that we added furniture. When we launch, this is what our advertising is going to look like, our social media is going to look like, and our grand opening event is going to look like. So we're going to do print, digital, KSL, marketplace, an e-newsletter. We have different sales funnels for follow-up plans. We're going to door knock. We're going to make calls to everyone we know who's looking to buy a home. We're going to cross-post it with other agents in the office, and we're going to go to the brokerage meeting too. So out of these things, there's really only one or two things that cost money, and that would be if I'm sending out postcards, which would be the print, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing digital ads. Everything else on that list is basically free on advertising. Social media, same thing. Facebook, Instagram, teasers, reels, stories, carousel, all of those are free because I'm just going to post it, right? But if I'm going to boost or if I'm going to create ads on social media, then that would be different. I'm creating like the video, I'm uploading a video on YouTube, Google landing page, and that is automatically done through KW. You know, when we create a listing, they have a thing where you automatically creates a landing page for it. So Pinterest and LinkedIn, if I'm posting on all of those places. So I'm just trying to reach as many social media outlets, and all of this is free. Grand opening, I'm going to canvass the neighborhood, send out postcards, do ads to advertise for it, put it on the MLS, bring some cookies, and then my lead capture, that's how I have my sign in. I think Command has like a digital way that you can sign into an open house now. Or you're gonna have like a sign-in sheet or something, some way that you're getting people to sign up. And then I'm gonna follow up after the grand opening event. So again, all of those are free too, except for the postcards and maybe the ads, but those are part of advertising too, right? Like I'm just like putting them in two columns, but it's essentially one. But they're seeing, oh, look at everything she's gonna do for me. Yeah. Okay, and then once I launch it, it's going to syndicate. So when we post it, it's going to go out to all these websites and more. So basically any real estate website we're going to syndicate with, and that's like 500 plus websites. And so I tell them that. We're going to put a smart sign in, a smart key box, and we're going to add the showing service. And I talk about what Aligned is, or if you're using Showing Time, whatever you're using, and why we use a smart key box over a contractor box. And then the showing service, this is, you know, to help with communication and transparency so they can see when showing requests are coming in, they get automatic feedback back, all the things. Okay. Another thing that I offer as part of my listing package is a free listing home warranty. It's 6 months of coverage or until it closes. And this is just to protect sellers from unexpected breakdowns, and it's free to you. So it's free to them, it's free to you. So basically Elevate has a listing home warranty. So you just sign up with them and it's free, and it's like a great little service that you're adding that is no cost to you, but they don't need to know that it's no cost to you. You're just telling them it's no cost, right? Now here's the thing. So these are just some of the things that it covers. There's going to be a service call, and there's going to be like a cost to the service call, right? And there could even be a deductible, right? But it's still going to be less money than having to go out and buy a whole new system if something breaks, right? Now, for me, I've used it a couple of times. I've had, plus this, well, if they need a garage door opener, if they need a rekey service, like those are great services that you can take advantage of right away. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I've used this a few times. So one time I was listing a house in Eagle Mountain, and they called me and they're like, "Hey, Courtney, our oven's not working." I was like, "Oh, shoot." So I actually put in the request for them to go look at it, and I paid for the $70 service call. They went out, they did the service call, and then they're like, "Oh, it's going to be X amount of dollars. This is covered." And then I think the seller paid for whatever the deductible was on it to fix it. It was all fixed and taken care of before they closed, and the seller was so happy that they didn't have to buy a new oven. You know, I think it was like not even very much money that whatever part they needed. I had another seller who, it was also in Eagle Mountain, and their oven wasn't working either. I sent out the warranty company and they're like, yeah, it can't be fixed. It looks like there were mice.
Oh, my Lord.
Mice got into the stove top, you guys. It was disgusting. They opened it up and there was like mouse turds everywhere. Like they had never cleaned it out, even though they knew that there had been mice in their house and that was in their oven. I'm like, I cannot believe you didn't get in there and clean. But anyway, it had bitten through some of the cords because it was a gas stove. And so a couple of the burners weren't working properly. They would work if she used a lighter.
Yeah.
And she's like, but it works. It's functioning. I just used my lighter. I'm like, no, no, no. No. Buyers want to be able to use the knob. That's working. You're just doing a quick fix, oh, I can make it work because I have a lighter. No. The expectation is you're going to provide an oven or a stovetop that works, like works, how it's supposed to work, right? They were refusing to get it fixed, refusing to pay for everything. So I had a guy come out and he's like, okay, I can fix it, but it's going to be about the same cost as a new oven. So what I ended up doing is there's a place in Orem, the appliance place. Yeah, I forget the name of it, but it's either a Center or 8th North. And it's just when you get off the freeway, it's to the right and it's like right there. Yeah, the appliance, I don't know, but basically they refurbish appliances. So I bought one and I had it installed because my clients refused to take care of it. And good conscience, my own like moral ethics, conscience, all the things. I'm like, I'm sorry, we cannot sell a house that isn't properly working that way. And you need to do it and you're just being cheap. So I did it. I don't even know if they appreciated it, but I did it anyway, whatever. So yeah, there's sometimes things that I do and I like save those little things, those negotiating things. Like I'm not going to reduce my commission because there might be times like that when then I can say, I'll take care of it for you. And I feel okay taking care of it because I just, I'm getting paid a 3% commission.
Yeah.
Post-launch, we're going to do responsive communication, weekly updates, listing feedback, listing analytics, and skilled negotiating when it comes time to contracts. So the listing feedback and the listing analytics, you can click in the MLS. There's a column where you can see how many people have viewed, and I just click on that and I just download the PDF on that. But I also sign up on Zillow and I add my listing to like my houses, and it gives me an updated weekly of how it's performing on Zillow too. So I think it's important because that is a place where a lot of people are going. So I want to show them, hey, this is how it's performing on the MLS. This is how it's performing on Zillow. I don't know if any other websites have that ability where I could sign up to get reports, metrics of my listing, but I think it's important, especially for those logical minded people. Like there's always somebody who's like the touchy-feely person, and then there's the other logical person in the relationship. And I want to make sure that whatever I'm putting out is like going to appeal to both personality types, Okay, then we're talking about pricing strategies. And so these are things that are in our control. We can price it, condition it, make sure it's available. And we can provide a home warranty, not the listing home warranty, but an actual one at closing. Like we want to provide that. Things that we can't control what the competition are doing. We can't control what type of market is. We can't control what interest rates are doing or when the perfect buyer walks through. But we're going to create the perfect condition for those buyers to walk through and buy. Some different pricing. Did you want me to go back?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Quick snap.
Okay, some different misconceptions. It's very important to list your property at competitive market value when we finalize the listing agreement. It's not what you paid. It's not what you need out of the house. It's not what you want. It's not what your neighbor says, another agent says, what it costs to rebuild it today. But it's actually what a buyer is willing to buy it for and what a seller is willing to sell it for. That is market value. So even though, yeah, obviously we want to sell our house for more than we paid for it, but in some markets, if the market has declined, that's not always the case, right? Sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes people owe money at closing or they have to do a short sale or something, which totally sucks if that were the case. The buyer and the seller, they determine the value. The value of your property is determined by what a buyer is willing to pay and what a seller is willing to accept in today's market. Buyers make their pricing decisions based on comparing your property to other properties sold in your area. So just like I'm pulling comps for you, seller, the buyer's agent is also doing that for their buyers. They are fully aware of how much homes are selling for in your neighborhood. And so you cannot bamboozle them, right, into thinking I can list high and they're going to come and buy my house. No, it just doesn't work that way. The buyers are so much smarter, especially these days with technology and the amount of information that is available to them, that you cannot have the expectation that if I list high, they're going to come buy it. The higher you list your price, the less buyers you have. So that brings us to the next one. We want to attract buyers. We want to price it right the first time. So if we price the home right exactly at market value, we're going to get, according to the National Realtors Association, we're going to get 60% of buyers who are looking are going to come look at your house, who are looking in that price point. That's if you price it at market. If you price it above market value, just 10% above market value, you're decreasing your buyer pool by 50%. If you price it even above that, see how it reduces. Boom, 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 right? If we price it slightly under market value, you're going to increase your buyer pool significantly. And again, if you price it even below that. Now, I can't guarantee a multiple offer situation, but I can say that it's more likely that you're going to get it. Depends on how quickly we need to sell this home. Do we list it at market value or do we list it slightly below market value? It's because if you need to move out of this house in 30 days, you can't expect to list it above. We got to be smart about it, right? And the longer that we're on the market, the more likely that we're going to sell it for less than market value. So if you price it here and it's been on the market this amount of time, the short amount of time, and you don't get a buyer, we reduce the price. We're here. Now, finally, we reduce the price to here. We're going to have to reduce the price probably once, maybe 2 more times before we're going to find a buyer. And at that point, we're not going to be able to have the same kind of negotiating power that we would have had before, because more than likely, when it sits for a really long time, buyers want deals. They want concessions. They want this. They want that, right? But if we price it, say we priced it right here, what is the likelihood that we're going to actually sell it at this? Very high. Because more than likely, if we're pricing it here, all those buyers who are looking, they see, dang, that's a good deal. I'm going to go look at that house and I'm going to put an offer in. And the likelihood of us getting multiple offers at that is going to be high. Then we're going to have competing offers and we can reduce the amount of concessions that we're going to have to pay.
So right there, is that like maybe 10% below market value?
5, 10.
5, 10, okay.
Yeah, I don't think you have to go as far as 10%. You could just be, like 5% below. That's a significant amount of money at our price points. But that's definitely going to be a desirable for the buyers. And sometimes you don't even have to go even that far. Like what I look at is, okay, what is the best deal in this neighborhood on a house, same size, undercut them. We become the best deal in the neighborhood. Boom, 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 boom. all the buyers who are looking in that neighborhood, it's just a little bit too much. Well, here's the house. We're under contract. We're done. Now, can we get a seller to agree to that every time? No.
No, I figure it has to do with motivation.
Uh, but I will tell you, I have seen this firsthand in the last few months where certain sellers are like, oh, let's list it high market value. And then guess what? We're all the way down to here now and we're under contract, low. Where I've had other sellers who I'm like, no, this is what we need to do. And they're like, okay. And we get them sold and under contract in 3 days. Well, under contract in 3 days sold. So it also depends on price points of the market. Like if you're listing anything under $500,000, you're going to get a lot of people looking, right? But when you get into this price point that's like the $700,000 to $800,000 to $900,000 is a real tricky market. So you do have to be very smart and aggressive on your pricing. Otherwise, you'll sit. Anything above $1 million, 1.2, 1.5, you're looking at like cash buyers, and that's different because people aren't as hung up on interest rates and payments and stuff because they have more cash in the luxury price points. So then I say, okay, so, well, we go over the comps. I pull them out, and I like paper.
Me too.
I'm old school. But just people in general like to have like a physical, we can draw on it, we can highlight, we can, look, this is what the concessions that they paid. This is what the concessions they paid. This is here. See what they listed at, look at what they sold for. Highlight, right? Now they see, okay, here's the data, you're right. Now let's talk about that. What to expect for our selling fees. Okay, for me, my professional fees, and you can choose your level of service here. My classic package is professional photography, open house, reflective sign, smart, key box, listed on the MLS, professional contract negotiation. Okay, but if we go with the full 3% here, you're going to get the classic, plus you're going to get drone, video tours, grand opening, deep cleaning, window cleaning, carpet cleaning, staging, social media ads, direct, blah, 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 blah. So much with a better value to go with 3%, right? And then I also recommend offering a buyer broker commission to maximize the traffic. More traffic equals more offers, and more offers equals more money or better terms. And even though the laws have changed since August 17th, buyers' behavior has not changed. Every single offer I have seen come in, the buyers are asking for their commission to be paid for out of the sale of the home because they want it to be wrapped into their loan. So, seller, what do you need to net? Let's look at that. Oh, I also go into, okay, unrepresented buyer fee. If we have an unrepresented buyer fee, then I'm going to charge 1.5% additional to my rate because there's additional work that I'm doing to manage the transaction to make sure that it gets to the close. No, I am not going to represent the buyer, but I do want to make sure that I'm working for you and that all of our timelines, deadlines, milestones, everything that we're doing is on track so that you're able to close, right? So these are all the extra things that I'm going to do if there's an unrepresented buyer. I don't really want an unrepresented buyer. I really don't, because it's more work, you know? I'd rather have another agent on the other side.
But okay.
So much easier to work with another agent than it is to represent with an unrepresented buyer.
So an unrepresented buyer, then you add an extra 1.5%. So you'll be getting 4.5% total. No, I think you're right. I think it's better to have the buyer represent.
Yeah.
I really do. You know, so I mean.
Okay. But it's still a possibility, and I want them to know up front, hey, if there's not one, this is what you're going to charge. So the most amount of money that or the worst case that you're going to pay is 1.5% for 4.5% commission is what they're going to, I guess that would be the best case, right? The best case is 4.5%. Worst cases are going to be paying probably 6% if the buyer's agent or the buyer asks for it as part of their offer, 3%. Does that make sense? Okay, what other costs could I expect to pay? There could be title escrow fees, a home warranty, and most home warranties are now $750. There are some that are a little less, but most of them are that. Taxes, those will be prorated, but you do have to pay for those out of your net proceeds up front. Any money that you still have in your escrow account that has been set aside for taxes will be reimbursed to you after you close. So you're paying for it up front, but you're going to be reduced or you're going to be reimbursed. HOA transfer fees, these are completely negotiable. Buyer closing costs, completely negotiable. Buyer agent fees, completely negotiable. However, we do need to set a budget for that, and we do need to look at a worst case scenario of 3%. If they ask for it, what is your bottom line going to look like? So let's look at that. Why would a seller pay any of the buyer agent commission? Well, we're offering a buyer agent commission could entice buyers to want to make an offer on a listing. Buyers might choose a listing that is offering a commission over one that's not offering a commission. If a seller offers a buyer agent commission, this could cause a buyer who couldn't otherwise afford the cost to close on a home to now consider your home because you're offering one. You will drive more traffic to your listing. More traffic equals more offers, and more offers equals more money. To be honest, this has been a practice for decades, and I don't see buyer behavior changing on this anytime soon. Essentially, buyers want to wrap as many things into the purchase price as possible so that they can decrease the amount of cash that they need to close. Buyers are coming in with a lot of money, and they want as much wrapped into that loan as they possibly can. So, okay, what questions do you have for us? We go over those questions. All right, let's look at a net sheet. Oh, here, Hunter, we gotta log out of Hunter. Okay. Here is a spreadsheet that I have that I use. So what I like to do is put some different scenarios. So like for one, let's say the range is 900,000 and the low on this is like 825. Okay. So if we sold low market value, oh geez, something's not right here on this. Oh, no. Oh. I was comparing offers here. So I use the same one when I am getting offers. So usually price one is what we list at, and then I start adding on the columns, or when we reduce the price, I change that. But adding on the columns, I'll do that for like the offers as they come in. So we can see like what was our benchmark and now where are we at? Right here.
Oh, there it is.
So this might be high market value. I'm going to give them high market and low market in my pricing strategy to say, okay, this is what I think maximum we could get, but I wouldn't recommend. And I don't know that I would go high. I'd probably go like market value in this market just because it's tricky, like, you know. But if I think where I think we should list would be somewhere around here. So look, we have my transaction fee of that, escrow fees at that, property taxes, that's from January to October. So those are prorated. This is what their payoff is. We're not going to pay any closing costs, or we could say, no, we are going to pay a closing cost. Let's budget in 15,000 just because we want to make sure that they understand, right? That could be, normally that plugs in, but I erased the formula. The buyer agent fees down here at 3%. My professional marketing is up here at 3%. There's an HOA transfer fee at 360. Are there any other things? Do you have a second or an HELOC or any other things that would be something we need to pay off? No. Okay. All right. So if we're looking at, why is this less? That should be more. Oh, geez. I don't know why the math's off. The math's not mathing. Hold. I know. Okay, let's see. Let's look at this. Oh boy. Let's change what the payoffs would be. Okay, so for this one, there's no HOA. We didn't put any seller pays. Well, let's put them in and just see if that. What am I doing? And why? I can't type. Why is the math again wrong? That should be more, right? Oh, because we're price is different. Okay, that's right. What? Mm-hmm.
So that's the commission?
Yeah.
Okay, 22. There is okay, because that's a different price.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we're way less. We're 100,000 less. That makes more sense. Okay. So at worst case scenario, if we list it at 750 and we come out with a net of 71, would that meet your goals? To be able to get to where you need to be?
Yeah. You know what? It would. Of course, price number 2 looks more enticing, but
sure.
Price number 1 will meet my goal.
Right. And so then usually what we do is like come up with a price somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So let's list it for.
Price number 2 is best case scenario, right?
Yeah. Price number 1 is worst case scenario.
Right.
Let's go in the middle.
You know what? If you offer the seller somewhere in the middle, a compromise, it's going to be more than 71,777 net. That'll make the seller happy. Yeah.
And they see that the other is unrealistic because I show them like, look, the reason why we got that comp that could possibly bring it up to 850, there was like an outlier comp that was like kind of skewing the numbers significantly. And I really caution them and say that it's probably the appraiser will not even use this comp, but what if they did? Then this is what you could possibly get. But I would caution not using that. So what if we take that comp out? Now we have 800,000.
Now, when you on the comp search, is like the oldest one is like maybe a year old.
6 months.
6 months. Got it.
And I try to do 5, 5, 5. 5 actives, 5 under contract, 5 sold. The 5-5-5 rule. So I would recommend taking a like a class to do comps. Like there's either MLS sometimes offers them. I think maybe even Cameron might.
Yeah, Cameron, we
run through it.
We did that last week.
Oh, cool.
He went over
like how to do comps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we say, well, what do you guys think? You guys ready to get started? And they're like, yes, okay. Then we pull out the paperwork and we review it. So I personally like to get all of the listing paperwork signed at the beginning because I hate having to go back and ask for dumb documents to be signed later. Let's just get them all done at the beginning. So I have the listing agreement, the MLS input form, the wire fraud form and the, there's one more, right? There's 4, I think. I'm blanking, but it's on your opportunity. There's usually a list of required forms. So just when you're going to get the forms for when you're doing a listing, just check on the opportunity, which ones are required, and make sure you have those from the get-go. Yeah, I know. My spreadsheet was not my friend today. I guess I gotta go back and fix all the formulas. Ah!
Yeah, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really nice when you lay it out. You know, it.
This is for my my logical brains.
Yeah. This is the left.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think it helps for the person who's the right side brain to see the bottom line, because they're more caring about the emotional part and how we're gonna fix all the problems, right? But really at the end of the day, they do need to make a certain amount of money. And I like to show that. So that's what I do. Anyway. For trying to think.
You know, where like you have title insurance, document preparation.
Oh, why is this all blacked out?
Yeah, you know, maybe you could change the text color to white in the boxes themselves.
Oh, right here.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah.
Because this is, well, I leave them blank always. And the reason why is because all of that is included in this.
Okay.
So there's not going to be extra for this. It's all part of this. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But I'm just breaking it down for them. This includes this, 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 and this.
Right.
Anyway, I should probably change this box to green. Or the if and whatever. If it's over whatever, then it's green. If it's negative, it goes to red.
Red is easy.
So yeah, that's basically what I do. Do you guys have any questions or anything you want to know
Oh, I got a funny
additionally?
story.
Okay, what?
Okay, so, you know, well, he's already deceased, so I can say his name. But, my, my ex-deceased father-in-law, he's Otto Belvedere.
Oh.
So he had, Pacific, Development.
Uh-huh.
He did a lot of the houses off of Geneva where I live.
Okay.
And, he built, him and my ex, they got together and designed the first house that we moved into. Freaking beautiful house. I mean, really, really nice. Well, he didn't tell us because we came up from San Diego. So when we moved up, he says, hey, your house is ready. Come on up, right? Well, he didn't tell us it was still under the construction loan, even though it was done. And so the bank found out and they told him, you either got to get these people out or we're going to call the note.
Oh.
Didn't tell us a damn thing, right? So next thing you know, there's a foreclosure notice on the door.
Oh no.
So we had to move out and the worst part about it is I asked him, I said, who do I make the mortgage payments to? Well, make them out to me. I'll take care of them.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, we were so stupid back then.
Oh.
Anyway, we ended up moving out and we had to move into this piece of garbage spec home that he had. It was a dog leg, cul-de-sac.
Oh yeah.
So the house at the end where the master bedroom window looked at showed the house that we just moved out of. I mean, it was really bad. Anyway, but that spec home, just like you said, there were wires, you know, the power lines. And so there was an easement. So, so the house, it was like a chunk of it was not there because of the power lines. They had to accommodate for it. That freaking house, every time I went to a light switch, sparks would shoot. You know, when I turn on or
Oh
off
my
the light.
goodness, no.
My daughter, her bedroom was above the garage. She'd be watching TV and it would just randomly change channels.
Oh my heck.
Yeah, yeah. Then another morning.
Did you have a ghost?
It was
It was the wiring. I get it. I'm just
One
thought
time
that
I
was
walked
funny.
out in the morning and at the foot of the driveway, there was a dead mallard duck. I mean, it was, you know, and I'm like, oh my God. We were only there for like 6 months, but it was hell. I mean, our first couple of years here in Utah were pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
That's rough.
Oh, yeah.
So how long have you guys been licensed for?
2 months.
Okay,
Yeah, for me, it'll be 2 months on the 23rd.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Congrats. No, a month, sorry. I took the test on the 3rd. I failed the state and, I was sick, but I thought it was nerves. Turns out my foot was infected. I ended up in the
Oh
hospital
my
for like
gosh.
8 days and then a rehab center for 17.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I lost like a whole month.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was discharged right before Halloween. And then I took the part that I failed, which was the state part. I retook that in November and I passed, so I've been
nice.
licensed for a month, really.
cool.
Yeah.
Good for you. What about you?
Been pretty close. I think I submitted the application.
Awesome.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Well, awesome. Oh my goodness. So you're just getting going, both of you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What made you guys decide to get into real estate?
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah. What about you?
I got, kind of pushed into retirement from FedEx. I was a IT consultant for the company, and so I did customer integrations. And, last year, November 15th was my last paycheck.
Oh,
My daughter and I were gonna start a business together, but we couldn't find a suitable storefront for what we wanted to do. And I told my daughter, I'm like, hey, sweetheart, we can't find anything and I gotta do something because my money's not gonna last forever. And I was thinking of doing what you did, was starting the business with my daughter, but also doing real estate on the side. Well, I told, Susie Love, I said, forget the part-time plan. I'm going in full-time.
Oh, nice.
Dive into it. Yep.
good. Well, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so I did all the pre-licensing work. I did that all through Keller.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was that experience?
The online, the 120 hours, I went through a Kaplan,
Oh, yeah,
very, very, very dry, very boring
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah. It usually is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you go through, it's boring.
Yep. Oh, man. It was bad. But I got through it,
Yeah.
through it, and then, of course, at the end, you have to take a 20-question test. I passed it and
Good.
everything, so. Yeah.
It's true. They're, ugh.
No, it's
know.
funny because, well, I shouldn't say this, but knowing what I know about IT and everything, I knew how to get the information I needed
Yeah.
without it being visible when
Yeah.
when I took the final test.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. It's called 2 laptops.
Oh, right, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I did my broker test this last year and it was brutal having to retake all the classes. I'm like, shoot me now. Oh my gosh.
Why'd you get your broker license?
I just wanted to level up my business and I feel like out of all of the designations that you can get, that one's the one that people most understand.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
know, it's like, oh, she's a broker. That means she's more
She's
of
a
a
one-stop shop.
I mean, you know, we also have the Indy branch office for Eagle Mountain. Currently, we don't have a space. We just moved out of a space and we're looking for a new one, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard.
so that's kind of what yeah. So my husband was the branch broker for that. And then I just needed to get mine too, just because.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, you were saying that this is a long, type business, and so how much, when you went full-time, what were you able to realize your first year?
Full time in 2016, I think I made like 100,000.
No, that's good because, with FedEx, when I got retired, I was just under 100 grand. I
Perfect.
think and it was gross. I was grossing, 92. Well,
Awesome.
I've been with the company for 23 years.
Yeah.
And, so what I want to do is in 2025, as soon as possible, that's what I want to do, like 100 grand. When I'm
I mean,
shooting for is 200.
It's not, how many deals is that?
What, 6, 8?
Something like that, because you still have to pay some splits, right, to be part of the productivity team at first, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's doable.
okay.
I would say prior to that, because I did it, kind of as a side hustle part-time for a bit.
Yeah.
So I did, before I went full-time, had been making steps, like in learning the business and all that stuff. But I want to say I would make around, I don't know, around 50 to 60
Yeah,
in those years.
that's good.
But then
That's doable.
my husband was working for a builder, and he was changing builders and was going to see in that first year he wasn't going to make as much money. So he's like, hey, if I do this, like, can you make up the difference? So I was like, okay. And so I did it. And then that's when I was going to call the beast inside of me came out, or I don't know, the goddess of real estate. No, that's when she was like, oh, this is fun. I like to do this.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. So
Yep.
then he left his job working for a builder. And so then we're like, oh, now we have to
Really?
make up all the difference. So,
Oh, okay.
so we
Yeah.
work together, but we've been able to do it every year. So
Wow.
it's been good for us. I really love real estate and how it's changed my life and how I feel like it changes every person we work with life, like it's an important business that we're in. Like this is people's lives, their homes, where they raise their families, where they live. Like it's a sacred space, and for people to invite us into that space is pretty
Yeah.
pretty neat,
You-
pretty special.
For like your first, I don't know, couple listings where we're gonna, we're gonna go out and do the presentation and all. Do you recommend taking like our broker, our coach or something like that, or just go solo?
You could. I never did. I just winged it. Because honestly, like, I mean, I feel like if you practice it a few times with your coach
Yeah,
and then again, they're hiring you. So there's always there's a reason why they're calling you.
Yeah.
They already have some level of respect there, hopefully. And I guess that's if the person knows you already.
Yeah.
I guess if it's a complete stranger, that's a completely different thing. There's more involved in having to build that trust and know thing, but that's why starting with your sphere is oftentimes the best and easiest way to get your business going. It's because they already know you.
Yep.
They already like you. You just have to get them to trust you as their agent, which sometimes is a hurdle in that first year because you're a new agent. But then you can say, well, I have they don't have to be there, but you can rely on the experience of your coach and your broker and everybody. But I would say, like, for you, I assume you've been in your neighborhood for a long time.
yeah, I'm going to
Yeah. So if you kind of have that established for you, you have to think, okay, well, who knows me? Do your parents live here?
I have a few relatives that are around, but they live
Mhm.
like from about 4.5 hours south.
Oh, are you from St. George?
Side.
Oh,
South.
oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Then you just have to start farming an area, is what I think. Farming really does work. It does take a little bit to get things going, but I have one friend who I don't even think she farmed her neighborhood. Maybe she farmed, but she hadn't lived there very long, so she didn't know very many people. She farmed an area and then she added on like a townhome community to that, and she was religious about farming it monthly. And by like month 6 or 8, I think she ended up doing 10 deals that year. But they all happened in the last quarter because she had done all the work up to that point to get them. And it was like boom, 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 boom. This is pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, it's like my neighborhood's really nice.
Mhm.
It's, it's, good family,
Mhm.
community, good
Yeah.
family homes and all that.
Mhm.
It's a nice area. No one farms, and I've been there
Yeah.
for,
No one farms.
no one farms. And,
So if you're the one who starts it,
yeah,
it's
the only
inevitable.
time I know that there's even a realtor around
Mhm.
is I'll get a little postcard when there's a listing.
Oh, yeah.
So, and even then, the agent doesn't do it. He has his kids drop the cards off, around, and I'm like, wow, no one really does this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there's like, that I see
Mhm.
in the close proximity, there's like maybe 4 or 5 listings really close to where I live, and they're all by a different agency.
Oh,
So
interesting.
no one's really
Mhm.
taking the trouble. Everyone thinks that, oh, it's all digital now, Facebook, and I'm going to,
People love the human touch.
exactly.
Mhm.
And that, when you say old school, I'm like you.
Yeah.
the human touch is really
Mhm.
important. It's more so now because everyone's hiding behind a damn laptop
Yeah,
or a tablet.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, I was gonna say, so like my niece is in real estate and she has, her network of people who are like graduating from college right now. And so they're all needing homes, like they're need a townhome or a condo or whatever to get them started. But then she grew up in Riverton and her husband grew up in Provo. So they've tried to farm those two areas, but but I really just think it'll come. But if you just choose, you don't have to have a specific neighborhood. People already know you. I brought that up because I was like, well, it does help if but if not, then just pick apart. And for you, you might want to like look at the areas that are like more like the townhomes and the condos, to get started. Because people like get into those, but then they want to move in like 2 to 3 years. So then if you just start
Yeah.
marketing those areas that are high turnover, you might be able to pick up, and they're good price points where people have the money to buy.
Mhm.
Questions, not necessarily like related, but, um, do you think that the Fed might cut rates anytime soon? How much?
I don't know. That's the magical question we're all asking.
Yeah, I know
I hope.
last week they did cut the rate, but it was like a fraction.
Tiny.
Yeah,
It was like,
it went 6.689 to 6.6.
mhm.
It's like, oh, that means that's what, $25 maybe.
I mean, every little bit counts. I really think if we can get below 6 into those mid fives,
Yeah,
game over. I mean, it's going to be wild,
yeah. When our guy takes off,
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Every year they've told us that it's going to be, and it hasn't happened. So I'm just like, but people are still buying. Like that's the thing is like the rates. Yes, there would be more buyers buying. There are still people who need homes and who are just making it work with the hope that the 2-1 buy downs are helping, and then they're hoping that they can refinance at some point.
yeah.
It just sucks because the buying power is less. So, $100,000 can't get you your big house anymore. you know.
Previous owner of Fido.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
Yes, our loan doesn't give credit.
it doesn't, because they go off the investment. Mhm.
I have a bill that's as well. That got some other plans. But other ways I can help them. They don't have credit on account.
Mm. Yeah. As long as the numbers work out and they meet whatever the underwriter criteria is for that, like they're gonna need like a certain multiple, they're gonna need a certain DSCR score, 1.25
Yes.
or something. That's like your ratio of like equity to,
Oh, gotcha.
so it just really depends on what the bank underwriting criteria is. So that will depend on like what is the property netting, and then how much money he's gonna have to put down for it, for that ratio to work out. Sometimes they require like 20, it just really depends on sometimes the deal, like what you're coming to, like what the deal is offering, like how much equity's in the deal, how much money's coming in. There's a lot of factors, like, so instead of asking the bank, what's the down payment? You want to ask what the underwriting criteria is, and they'll give you like a little sheet that has different things, and then you can do the math to figure that out. So, yeah. Well, cool. Well, it was so nice to meet you both. I'm glad you both came. Sorry, I was running a little bit late this morning, but we still, I guess after questions, we're figuring a little, it's 11:45, but. Okay, it's time for lunch now.